All right. We got another awesome guest on the podcast this week. Very excited. Quick little intro on him. We've known each other for probably a decade at this point now, but he is a father of two. We met through actually his wife. She was my recruiter at my current company, Insight Global. They started dating, but he is an Austinite along with myself. I believe he was born in Dallas originally.
Yes.
But please welcome Logan Reichle to the podcast, Texas on My Mind.
Yeah. Thank you for having me, Brantley. I'm very excited to be here. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and I find them very insightful. There are a few of my favorites that I'll share later on, but I'm just excited to be here. It's the first time to be on a podcast. You have a little bit of nerves, but I think that's totally fine and acceptable, and frankly, it's a little exciting. So
there you go. Well, that's why we have bourbon, right? Right, Logan?
Bourbon. Yeah.
So,
cheers.
Sir, cheers. Absolutely. So we the cocktail of the episode this week is 1835 bourbon. This is a Texas-made bourbon. 1835 is fitting because it is the year that Texas gained its independence. It says, "Come and take it" on the bottle, just right there. And you know what? It's pretty tasty. So
yeah, it is good.
Good little cocktail of the episode here. But let's get into it. So Logan, I know we were talking a little bit before this, before the podcast, right? Before we started rolling here, and I did not know that you, like I mentioned in your intro, grew up in Dallas. I always looked at you as an Austin guy. So maybe let's swing back and tell us a little bit about like your childhood, how you grew up, what part of Dallas were you from?
Yeah, well, I was born in Dallas in 1987, September 6, 1987.
All right, 80s baby.
That puts me at 36 years old, and that's kind of hard to say out loud sometimes, but I don't feel 36 at all. Two kids does put the age on you pretty quick and change your responsibilities, but I was born in Dallas. Both of my parents, Kevin Reichle and Belle Reichle, were from Midland, Texas. They moved to Dallas. My mom went to Texas Tech, ended up being a flight attendant, and for American Airlines, as well as my grandmother, Mon Battle. My mom's maiden name was Belle Battle. She went to training in Buffalo, New York, and American Airlines has the massive hub in Dallas, and so she got based out of Dallas and was a flight attendant for 35 years, which is really cool. Wow. and provided a lot of benefits growing up, like flying standby all over the world. So
So is it true that if after a certain point as a flight attendant, I know with Southwest, American, those are Texas-based airlines, but for most of the airlines, you get to fly for free at some point, and you get the best, like, what are they called? Shifts? They're not called shifts. They're called legs, right?
Yeah. Okay. So the first question regarding flying for free, you can stand by for a flight. It used to be significantly easier to get on these flights as technology has gotten so much better, and performance is such a necessity for stock prices and company values. They try not to leave empty seats on these flights anymore. Yep. So back in the day, we flew to Sydney, Australia from Dallas for free for all intents and purposes. I've flown to South Africa and Colombia and several places for free, which was outstanding. When my parents ended up getting divorced, I kept those benefits. And so in college, I would fly around frequently for free, using the standby benefits, and it was an outstanding perk growing up. It was very difficult to start buying full fare airline tickets at that age.
I can imagine. So I bet that probably came in handy in college with all the spring breaks, like ski trips or maybe the trips to the beach, like I don't know, Gulf Shores, I think might have been there.
Yeah, in college football, I one of my best friends went to LSU. I was down there frequently because I could fly for free there and fly for free back. So that was outstanding. Back to Dallas, my dad was a mechanical engineer. He went to Texas here in Austin, fell in love with the city, ended up getting a job with Johnson Controls. That brought him to Dallas. Midland, the folks from Midland, they're great people. They stay in this tight-knit communities.
Yes.
They'll have Midlanders in Dallas, Midlanders in Austin, and they'll have these meetups. And my mom and dad met in Dallas, got married, and I was born there.
What part of Dallas was it? Like,
oh man, Brantley,
I'm a Dallas.
Yeah,
I'm a Dallas native.
Okay,
so.
okay. Well, then I was born in one of the major hospitals.
Okay.
We ended up. When I was born, they were in a very small 2-bedroom, 1-bath in Addison.
Yep. Okay.
Then they ended up renting a house in Plano. They bought a house near Forest and Midway, and there was 4 major streets. I think Marsh, and they bought a really nice house. Then my brother was born. He was probably 1 or 2, and I think it was 1993. My family moved us to Austin. Gotcha. My dad came in. I was already an avid sports nerd. All of my relatives, my aunts and uncles, they would say, "This, what is this kid doing?" I would read the sports page when there was no internet, and I would read the sports page at the kitchen table every single morning to read the box scores, to understand what was going on. And I had already fallen in love with the Cowboys, the Mavericks, the Rangers, the Stars.
Thank God. That was my next question.
Yeah,
like, I hope by being born in Dallas, you were just like immediately already part of the club. Right?
And,
you have to be a Cowboys fan. You have to be a Mavs fan.
I can't get off of it.
There you go.
So even at that young of an age, we were resistant to moving to Austin, and my dad pushed it. He found a piece of real estate to purchase here and decided he was moving the family to Austin, and that's where he was going to plant his flag. So
there you go.
Looking back, I'm very grateful for that decision. I love the city of Austin. I'm proud of it too.
Absolutely. Yeah. You know what's crazy? It's like, so Addison is a great area, and I can understand probably why they lived in that Addison Plano area. If your mom was making the trip up to DFW airport at the HQ for American, probably. Mm-hmm. But for some reason, we went to West Texas. This is me growing up.
Okay.
We would always make the trip. Everybody talked about San Antonio, but I feel like I didn't even visit Austin until I was maybe in high school.
Okay.
For some reason or another. It just like was this mystical blip on the radar that I only thought the University of Texas was here. There's nothing else here. It's the weird part of Texas. It's obviously the capital.
Right.
Scratch that. I did make a trip to the capital once when I guess I was in probably 7th grade, but it was literally like on the bus, get off, go into the capital, get back on the bus, and head down to the Alamo.
Right.
So,
and for Austin in particular, the growth factors are well documented. Everyone can see how much it's blown up.
most definitely.
I actually went to a luncheon today with Opportunity Austin for a work deal, and I saw a slide that in the past 10 years, the population has increased 35%, which is it's pretty outstanding. Yeah. So back in the day when we were kids, it was a small town.
Yeah.
Bee Cave Road out in Westlake, we lived off Cuernavaca, and it was way out there.
I bet. Everybody talks about how like Mopac was this like 1-lane highway.
Yeah.
Everybody talks about Research Boulevard being like a stoplight style street, like going up to Cedar Park or that area. Like you never did it.
Yeah, that was a little before my time.
Okay.
But Bee Cave Road was 1 lane each way, I believe, after you got past 360. And that's where we lived. Cuernavaca is a small road that goes down to Lake Austin, west of town.
Right.
I believe it's probably 5 to 6 miles west of 360, which would put it, I believe it's probably about 10 miles from downtown. Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah.
So I think like some of the most well-known things to do in Austin are you go to Zilker Park, right? You go to Barton Springs pool. You go to the Greenbelt, a lot of outdoorsy things. Obviously the Capitol's here, but like, was it still like that? You know, do you remember growing up? If that's what, do you remember going to the big Zilker Park as a kid in like middle school and high school? Do you remember, you know, hiking the Greenbelt? Like, were those things that were just classic things that continue to this day?
They brought a smile to my face as you brought them up, right?
Okay, there you go.
I guess when your memories form, I remember in high school, we went down to the Greenbelt off of Lost Creek frequently.
Yeah.
We would swim in the creek down there. You could hike up and down that creek, which they all tie into the massive Greenbelt. We would hike down the Spyglass entrance by where the original Taco Deli was.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That was my entrance too.
I grew up playing soccer. There used to be soccer goals and soccer tournaments at Zilker Park. Those are long gone as the city has grown.
Right.
I have vivid memories of playing in select soccer tournaments at Zilker and loving it. Barton Springs, of course, when you're a kid, it's a little cold and then you jump in and you're totally fine.
Right.
Same goes for today. So all of those spots have great memories in my heart, and I'm looking to share them with my kids too.
There you go. Yeah, that's amazing. My 92-year-old grandfather even tells me that's like the one thing. He was an Aggie, so he, besides showing up and pulling pranks on Longhorns, the one thing that he talks about is, I just remember, I forget the name of it, but that really cold pool.
Yeah.
And I think it's spring fed. It's like, in fact, it's called Barton Springs.
Well, where does this spring come from? The Edwards Aquifer, but it's the most amazing thing. It's 105 degrees, and you get to jump in this 70-degree water that actually puts a little chill on you. It's
a hangover cure. That's for sure.
That it is. I've experienced plenty of that on Sundays. It's a amazing place.
Absolutely. I haven't even mentioned the lakes. I mean, you got 3 incredible lakes. So you have Lake Travis that, you know, that's, you know, kind of the top of the Colorado River. Then it kind of moves into Lake Austin. I know you're a fan of Lake Austin. And then it goes to Lady Bird Lake, but is that what the locals used to call it? Or
well, you want to go further? We can go further.
Keep going.
It's actually there's 7 lakes. And they're all dammed up. Yeah. So if we shoot further northwest, and we've gotten a lot of rain the past few days. We need more rain up in that northwest and west locations up near San Saba and that area, past Brady.
Yeah.
That's where the watershed up towards Abilene fills up our lakes.
Really?
So there's 7 lakes. It's the chain of 7 lakes. It starts with Lake Buchanan.
Okay.
It is a non-constant level lake, so it will fluctuate dramatically. Right now, it's very, very dry and somewhat depressing, especially if you own real estate out there.
Right.
When it's full, it is glorious out there, and it's just a massive lake with water sports and cliffs to jump off of. Beautiful. As you come down, the next lake will be Inks Lake, I believe. I could be off on that, but I believe it's Inks Lake past the Buchanan Dam. Camp Longhorn has one location on Inks.
That's right. That's why I'm familiar with it. That's probably the only reason why.
So that's on the Colorado. As you go further, LBJ and then Marble Falls.
Yep.
And then it feeds into Lake Travis and comes down. So those all kind of the feed in as part of that Central Texas Austin. They're amazing.
That's all the Colorado River. That's why we have the LCRA monitors everything. I did not realize it started all the way up at Lake Buchanan.
Yeah.
But I guess growing up, were you a lake kid? Were you a lake rat, as they call it? Yeah, I'm sure you had friends with boats, but
yeah. Growing up, man, my parents loved it. We had this horribly ugly outboard brown ski boat that we just loved. I mean, this thing was. It was the sparkles with brown on the side of it. And you didn't know if it was going to run or not. We pulled it in and out of the lake every time, so we enjoyed that growing up. I had friends in high school that had the boats, but we weren't necessarily lake rats yet.
Yeah.
Some of my friends were. They
Sure.
went on more. They were better at those sports. And then
Wakeboard and stuff.
wakeboard, wake surfing wasn't really a thing
I
yet.
feel like no, yeah.
And when I went to college, my brother and dad bought a boat and put it on Lake Austin.
Yeah.
And my brother was a sponsored wake surfer, extremely talented, went all over the nation, and
No way.
was part of the growth of the sport. To watch him wake surf is a thing of art. It's unbelievable. He throws these massive airs and 360s. It's really something else. I'm a shadow of a wake surfer.
Yeah.
And
Holy
I
crap.
loved my water sport was slalom skiing. I loved slalom skiing. Yeah. Throwing
That's what I
rooster
did.
tails.
Yeah, that's what I did. You know,
Oh,
we
you did?
had-
Yeah.
I mean, we did. So I went to a camp just outside of Kerrville called Camp Stewart. It's in Hunt, Texas.
Okay.
And there was like it was kind of like a merit badge style activity as they had these different challenges that you did, and the ultimate goal was to achieve this position called chief. So it started at
Okay, cool.
Literally it started at like scout.
You're a kickapoo.
You moved up to brave,
Yeah.
then you moved up to like brave warrior, and then chief was like the ultimate, kind of like an Eagle Scout, kind of Boy Scouts type thing, but it's for the camp. But I couldn't get my chief because the last thing on I went there for 4 years.
Yeah.
And it was like kind of middle school for me, right? But I couldn't get my chief because I couldn't slalom ski.
Oh,
So I loved water skiing.
Yeah.
But I kept practicing and practicing.
Yeah.
And this is when I was like 12 years old.
Uh-huh.
So a little more difficult. Also we're slalom skiing on the Guadalupe River, not a lake.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly. So literally it was like you go down, you get like maybe like a minute down, and then you turn, and then you minute down. So
I didn't even know that was possible.
So after that, I just like made it my. I stopped going to the camp, but I made it my mission. Like, I'm gonna learn how to freaking slalom ski.
Yeah.
And that was my thing before wakeboarding kind of just took over as the most popular.
Did you wakeboard?
Oh yeah. I wouldn't say I was very good, but I could always get up because I feel like, you know, when you start water skiing, right? When you learn how to get up on water skis, in my opinion, maybe, you know, people would disagree with me, but I feel like it's easier to get up on a wakeboard than water skis because you have this entire board pushing against it, and you, as long as you know how to like turn it over, you're good. But
less grab, or less, I guess, traction in the water.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm sure people would disagree that are like really into wakeboarding and saying it's so much harder than water skiing, but
I guess it depends. There's levels to all of that stuff, but from a getting up standpoint, I'd have to agree with you. There's so much more water. It just your board slaloming, you know, is very narrow.
Very narrow. Yeah. So I would say that that's like the most difficult water sport to do is slalom water skiing because you're on this like super tiny ski and you've got both your feet on it.
The love for the sport has declined so much too because the new boats, you throw these massive wakes, and slalom skiers, you don't want any. You're kind of prissy about it. I don't want any waves at all, or I'm not going to go.
Exactly.
So on Lake Austin, it's pretty much off limits unless you go at 6 a.m. And even there, you're going to run into some wake surfers who are going to throw some massive.
Yeah, because they have these. Yeah, they have these boats that obviously just sit. They fill up the back end, right, and they sit really deep in the water and make these big wakes for it. Which, you know, again, just I feel like I didn't even see a wake surfer until maybe 10 years ago. Right?
Yeah, it's just the displacement of water for these boats. They focus on the back left or back right corner depending on where you want the wave, and all of it isolates one section and tries to make these massive 4 to 5, 6 foot waves. It's to get up on it and wake surf. It's unbelievable. For the rest of the lake that doesn't like it, it's not the best, but it's all worth it, and it's
I can see why though. But that's awesome that you know, again, I feel like you have this nostalgia around this. You know, it was a vessel that floated, right, and it got you on the lake, even though it wasn't these beautiful Taiga boats that we see out these, and the nautiques that we see out there.
Precisely.
It had, you could do some water skiing behind it.
And we did. My
And
mom
you did.
was
Yeah.
outstanding. My dad was a 6'4", 220-pound man, and every time he would cut, they were good slalom skiers. My entire family slalomed. He would throw the lean down, and the entire boat would shift a little bit because it couldn't stay specifically straight with his turn. So it'd give a little.
The old Reichle lean. Huh?
Oh man, he could really turn it over. My mom was probably the best in the family. She grew up skiing on Oak Creek Lake outside of Big Spring. So,
okay, haven't heard of Oak Creek Lake.
Yeah, no, if you have, it's
very
a small,
cool.
Yeah.
So that's so it sounds like that kind of pretty much took up most of your weekend activities. Were in the summer at least, right?
Yeah, I was a sports guy growing up, so soccer, basketball, AAU tournaments. Loved every bit of it, and
nice.
And looking back at it, it was a great childhood. I was competitive doing those things. You look back at it and you go, how important was that? But really understanding it, the friendships you made, understanding how to lose, understanding how to compete properly. Those were the main takeaways that I think were so important. And I'm a huge fan of team sports as well as all sports. So,
I feel you.
Yeah.
So did you stay in Austin for, say, college, or like where did you go from there?
Well, I went to Westlake High School, and then I shot out to Texas Tech University in Lubbock.
Guns up.
6-hour drive up towards the Panhandle. As I mentioned earlier, both parents are from Midland.
Gotcha.
Both grandparents were from Midland. All the aunts and uncles are Midland. And West Texas felt comfortable to me.
Heck yeah.
And I went out there and had a chance to go play basketball at some very small schools around Texas, and decided that even if I played at these very small schools, I wasn't very good. I'd be riding the end of the pine, and I would be grinding. There would have been benefit to that, but I decided to go out there and cut my teeth with the good people of West Texas. And people say, well, did you like Lubbock? Oh, I loved Lubbock.
I mean,
the best
Lubbock
people,
or leave it, right?
Yeah. If you're in, you're in. And why do you love Lubbock? The people were outstanding, and I still respect and have so many great friends from that time in my life.
We actually did a podcast with one of my buddies, Kyle Minnick, who grew up in Lubbock, and we got the whole lay of the land about Lubbock. But that was the growing up side of the house, the point of view.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten the college point of view.
Okay.
Coming from the outside. So I was very lucky enough to visit Lubbock twice in college. Actually more than twice, but game day weekends twice. And, it seems like all you guys are really good drinkers.
Oh man, it was a really fun time. There's a lot of alcohol consumed in Lubbock, Texas. It's all about the college.
Yeah.
It's all about the people. Austin has so much to provide, like Dallas and Houston, with different things on the weekend. And when you're in Lubbock, it's Texas Tech. You're focused on your studies. You love the sports teams. Yeah, and I joined a fraternity. I was an SAE.
Nice.
That's where a lot of my friends were. I actually had a lot of friends that weren't SAEs too. Spoke with one yesterday in different fraternities, non-fraternities that we met in Weymouth, the dorm, dropping a Weymouth on you. Weymouth and Chitwood were the two towers.
The party
in Lubbock.
dorms? Or
Yeah,
what?
that was the party dorms. And we had so much fun, and I still have incredible connections from that time in my life, yeah.
I'm actually wearing this Patagonia vest because actually I think I stole this from a Fidelt in Texas Tech when I was a pledge for warmth. So when I was a freshman in college at A&M, we were still, Big 12. So Texas Tech was a big rivalry of ours.
I miss those days.
And I was voluntold that I needed to drive 4 actives up to Lubbock, Texas for the weekend for the Texas Tech A&M football game. And the night before that was our big bro night. It's the night we basically got tricked into thinking we were going to get like hazed for like the entire night, and we did get hazed. But then about an hour into it, we found out it was a big celebratory night.
Okay.
Got the big brother, met the family, because I was also in a fraternity. I was a KA, and part of the ritual was then drinking a lot and and celebrating with your family. So the next morning, I was supposed to drive. It's a 6-hour drive from Austin. It's about an 8-hour drive from College Station.
I made it twice.
There you go.
It is a long ways.
And I let's just say didn't think, I wasn't in my right mind to pack appropriately, and it gets cold out in Lubbock.
Oh yeah, you're
in
on
October,
the desert.
Oh
and,
yeah. Here in Austin, and even most of Texas, it's like, it's still pretty warm in October. You don't really have this fall feel, and so I just packed like a normal, outfits and stuff, and I think I didn't pack a jacket, so I was a pledge, so I didn't have a lot of say in where I got to sleep, and so I think I wound up having to sleep in my car. And we were at a party, and luckily, house party or something, somebody passed out, and I snagged this vest that I still have to this day.
That exact
at a
one
at a Phi Delta party, and still fits. So that just shows I haven't gained a ton of weight since college,
man.
luckily.
Yeah, that's a great story.
I thought you'd get a hoot out of that.
That is a great story. Did you enjoy your time at Tech?
Yeah. I mean, I will say, and I said this in the last podcast when we talked about Lubbock, when we lost, so that when I was a freshman and we played you guys in football, we lost. Okay. I got to go into the game, had a great time, threw some tortillas.
Yeah.
Had a fantastic time. But when we lost, I thought you guys were going to be a lot more, like, hey, like, better luck next year. But, like, you guys were vicious. Compared to when we won.
Yeah. Oh, really?
You guys were super polite when we won when I went back as a junior.
Yeah.
So I think you just
we need to learn how to win. We don't.
Maybe you didn't win a lot.
We've had our struggles through the years and the past decade. Fortunately, when I went there, we were very good, which was so fun.
Yeah. Were those the Crabtree
That
days?
was Crabtree. I was in college. 06 to 10.
The quarterback was Graham Harrell.
Like, you're good, man.
And the only reason I know that is because we played them he went to Ennis High School, and we played them in high school.
Really?
They were one of the teams we had to beat. Those were my Matthew Stafford years.
Oh, wow.
That was one of the teams we had to go over to get to the state championship.
Hey, that's pretty cool. Was he good in high school?
He was great.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the Ennis Lions, I believe, they were, I think his dad coached too or something. I don't know. It was like a pretty large powerhouse. Ennis is like an hour outside of Dallas.
I think his dad was the coach. Yeah, he was a good coach. He was a good quarterback for us.
Yeah.
We had Danny Amendola.
That's
People
right,
forget
Danny
about
Amendola.
Eric Morris,
New England Patriot.
Yeah, I could go on and on
Yeah.
about that team.
Absolutely.
We were pretty stacked.
You had the
It was called Crabtree.
What was the legend? It was the legendary. It was the year that y'all beat Texas with the legendary Crabtree catch.
That was
seal the
08.
deal.
Yeah.
And that was when you were what, a junior? Or
I was a
sophomore?
junior. Halloween weekend.
Yeah.
It was an amazing weekend. Friends flooded in from all over the state. Game day was there. Bob Knight was on game day. R.I.P.
Knight, I know.
Yeah,
he just passed last year, right?
Yeah, very recently.
Wow, man.
And the atmosphere in Lubbock was second to none.
Electric.
A SAE friend of mine, Austin Bartlett, had a house party on Friday, and everyone dressed up in their costumes. Yeah. And then Saturday was game day, and the party rolled right through Saturday till the Saturday night game.
I bet.
My dad came up for the game, which was thrilling. He got us some tickets, and we went to the game together, so I didn't sit in the student section. But we were having fun, great time. There's a sea of people. We had the best tailgating spot right up against the east side of the stadium.
Yeah.
We had, I think, 6 spots, and we put a semi sideways. A friend of ours, Zach Coppinger, was barbecuing up on the semi, and we had the TV set up, and it was just a massive party.
Great setup.
And I turn around, and it's time to go in the game, and my dad has disappeared with the tickets, and there's no cell reception.
Oh, yeah.
There's that many people. There's no cell reception.
Oh, no.
It's 2008. The technology wasn't as good as today.
We're like 1G,
He shows up with 15 minutes before kickoff, and we got to get in there. It's the biggest game of my
God.
college.
At least he found you.
Yeah, we got back in there, and he found it. Yeah, it was, that's funny. And then the game was as memorable as a college football game can be.
That's probably up there in your like highlights of your life. I mean, it's got to be. I mean, right?
I was in the stadium when
your wedding day, the birth of your children, and the Texas,
the Crabtree catch.
The Crabtree catch.
What a game!
I mean, it's still up there when they do like. I don't watch enough Sports Center anymore, really, but
I don't think many
that was
people
what
do.
everybody watched, And now it's all gone away. But that was always up there with like top 10, like greatest catches or like most thrilling college football games
moments,
literally.
If you're on Twitter around that time of the year, you'll see some college football replays. The day of the Crabtree catch.
They'll throw that as a TBT or something.
Hey, we have a 5-star
30th. I guess we'll be coming up on like the 20th anniversary of that catch.
Oh gosh, you're really dating me, aren't you?
Well, that's how old we are now. Right?
Yeah. We have a 5-star who just signed. We've never had a recruit this high. His name's Micah Hudson. He plays receiver. So
there you go.
All the Red Raiders are excited for Micah Hudson, the next coming of Crabtree.
Yeah. Well, I feel like you and I have always bonded on Texas Tech sports. For some reason, when A&M left the Big 12 and went to the SEC, for some reason, and my brother went to Texas, and obviously we're living in Austin, so we're surrounded by these Longhorns that love to say that Texas is back, and just makes us angry.
And
I feel like I always bonded.
Finally.
For some reason, Texas Tech just moved up on my list of people, just the school that I really liked in the Big 12 the most. And so when we started hanging out, I feel like you and I always bonded over Tech basketball.
Yeah.
Even this past year, I sent you like, I think Tech's gonna beat Texas, and you're like, let's go, let's see.
That didn't turn out well for us, did it?
No, but basketball, I mean, it's been there's been some electric years with Texas Tech in the last 5 to 6 years.
Yeah, it's been a great run. It's been really fun.
Yeah,
we've had some turnover now with coach, and Texas stole our coach, but we're 4-1 right now. So all I can talk about is right now in the Big 12, and we're looking good. We're not a very deep team, but again, my sports nerd, I could get into grave detail about
for sure
the Texas Tech basketball roster, and I don't think anyone here wants to listen to that. So.
Well, I know.
I just remember on Texas Tech.
That 1 year where they made it, I want to say all the way to the Final Four. That was, and I, for some reason, just in my bracket picking, I just decided, you know what? I feel like Texas Tech is going to go.
Oh, you picked them,
and I won the bracket in our office.
All right.
That was just a really fun year to, really enjoy March Madness.
Yeah, I watched the Final Four down off West 6th Street with about 10 friends of mine, and by the end of it, the entire bar I think was friends of ours. It's Texas Tech won in the semis, and then. That night, after a few cocktails, I booked flights up to Minnesota, and I went up to the finals. My wife was out of town. Y'all were at a work trip, I think in Miami or Atlanta.
Back when we used to do those.
Yeah. And so she got home Sunday, and she's like, "What? You're going to Minnesota? Yeah, we need to get you a flight." About 4 or 5 hours later, we looked, and I had booked 2 flights, and that had slipped my mind after all the fun festivities. We went down there and had a blast, and ended up losing to Virginia in overtime. Yeah. I don't think my life would be any different either way, but
I know.
I would like to have felt the glory.
It was just amazing to see them go that far. It's like I know we felt like they could have made it that far, but just to actually see them do it, and unfortunately Virginia just had that team that year, but that's amazing. I know you mentioned you've at the beginning of the podcast that you've been an enthusiast of podcasts. What are some of the podcasts you've been listening to?
Hey, well, that's a good
question. What are the
question.
ones you're fans of?
When I thought I was coming on your podcast today, I was going to ask you that question.
Okay.
But I'll start. I've gotten into recently the Prof G Pod.
Okay.
Have you heard of this?
I haven't seen
Scott
I haven't
Galloway.
Heard of that. Okay.
He's a professor from Stern NYU. He is extremely intelligent guy. He's made a killing starting, investing, turning businesses around, mostly tech-related businesses, and become a very, very wealthy man. But his insights and perspectives, he sees both sides of the political parties. He can tell both sides of the political parties, and his insights into real world events, such as some of these crazy wars that were going on, to the current state of young men in America. He goes into great detail. He has 2 young boys.
Yeah.
So he tells people, when you're young, this is not the time to be staring at a screen playing video games. It's the time to get out, be extremely social, network, even if you don't think you're networking. Keep everything obviously appropriate in terms of partying, but getting yourself out there, making yourself, you need to be outside of your comfort zone if you want to reach further.
Get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
There you go, Brantley. So the Prof G pod is definitely worth a listen. He's also on a podcast called Pivot.
I feel like I've heard of that one.
Pivot is, it's okay. It's worth a listen. It's similar where they talk about different real life events. They also talk about media a lot. They'll talk about the movies and different things. So those are 2. I am a Joe Rogan listener.
Yes.
I like Joe Rogan. I can't
I got you there as well.
I can't possibly listen to all of them or how long they are.
Quite impossible. Yes.
And I'm also guilty of listening to these podcasts on 1.8x or 1.5x. And so I came in today and I was I need to talk slow because I'm used to listening to these things
on speed up so you can crank those. Because I mean, I'm also a Joe Rogan Experience fan, but I think what I like the most, obviously, it's been a big influence on how I wanted to run this podcast, where you have a guest and a host, and we talk about interesting topics. Hoping to keep it primarily about Texas. It works because the majority of the people I know are from here, so it's easy to keep it. But I love how he has it's the diversity of his guests.
Right.
So some days I'm like, I'm in a comedy mood, so I'm gonna listen to this one that he has Bill Burr on, and I'm gonna laugh my ass out. And then he has a Peter Zion I've become a big fan of. I'm an economics major at heart, and he's a political economist. And he was on Joe Rogan. He talked about how all of these wars, what they mean, why Russia attacked Ukraine, China's population problem with not enough adolescents all the way up to it's blows my mind. And then he has these incredible scientists and things on that explain like our biology and things like that.
Sounds like one.
That's why I like it.
I could listen to that now. Sometimes it's you need to stay current on it, and then sometimes it's back in the day.
But 3 hours is tough.
And I get a little burnt out on the.
I might take up that little tip and trick that you mentioned by just clicking that button and speed it up to 1.5, 1.8, so I can get through it.
And then you think they talk like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Prof G, I'll have to check out too.
Yeah. He just had a guy named Taylor Sheridan on. Okay. And Taylor Sheridan is a director and writer. Mm-hmm. And that's what brought that. You got us some 1835 bourbon whiskey.
Yeah.
He has a show called 1883, and it's a prequel to Yellowstone. We finished it last night.
Oh, Tim McGraw's in that with
Tim
Faith
McGraw's
Hill,
in
right?
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You kind of look like Tim McGraw, don't you?
Do I?
You got a little Tim McGraw in you.
Dude, I've heard Bob Stoops randomly. That's the only
big
celebrity
game Bob.
That,
big game Bob.
Hey, I'll take Tim.
I grew up and people said I looked like Snoop Dogg. I had really long hair at the time.
That's a new one. Okay.
Yeah, I had really long hair when that happened. No one's really called me anything recently. They said my dad looked like Tom Selleck. That's an old guy.
I can kind of see that.
The mustache.
If he had a thick mustache,
yeah,
right?
Yeah. I know no one said anything, but anyway, 1883.
Yeah,
I'll give it a plug.
Give it a plug.
It had some moments that were a little over dramatic, but it's about the Oregon Trail, and they start in Texas. They're starting in Fort Worth, and they're heading up, and they have to cross the Red River, and the Brazos, and they're heading up north, and it'll get you. You're on pins and needles a lot of the show.
Does it bring back like Oregon Trail, the video game we used to play in computer lab in like 5th grade vibes?
You're on a few group messages.
You died of tuberculosis.
You died of dysentery. You're on some group messages, right? Like with some friends, maybe a few couples.
Totally.
We're on one with a few friends, and we both watched the show. We actually started it with kids. It's hard to get through these seasons.
Yeah.
All the episodes, they got through it faster than we did, and we finished it last night. So this morning we were texting all about it.
Yeah.
And Carly had never played the Oregon Trail. Well, what are you doing, Carly? Those are floppy disk games. Go download the game.
Did you? Well, she grew up in Oklahoma.
Right? I went and downloaded the game on the.
No way.
Yeah, and nerded out. When Carly would go to bed, I'd stay up at night, and
I kind of want to do that.
I got to Oregon. It takes about 5 or 6 hours. One of my 4 people in my wagon survived.
There you go.
My nerd plug.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna. Now you have me on it. First of all, I want to watch the show. I was in Bowie this weekend with some friends, which is like in North Texas. We have a hunting lease up there, and one of my buddies was telling me about that one and the one that's like
1923.
23. So you're gonna watch that one next?
Absolutely. Harrison Ford's in that one.
That's right.
Yeah. I don't know who else, but we need a little bit of a break. This show takes it out of you a little bit. It's one of those shows.
Isn't that crazy how I feel like there's been this like reemergence of like cowboy arts,
Yeah.
Like and with me personally too. So yes, obviously big fan of Yellowstone. We started this show called Outer Range.
Okay.
Which is on we started it last night. In fact, it's got Josh Brolin on it. He has like a ranch. It's on Amazon Prime. Only watched the first episode, but it's getting kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit more sci-fi weird things that are going on, but it's like this thing. But then also just like with the music that I started listening to. Are you familiar with Coulter Wall?
No, I'd love to give him a listen.
Oh my God, I got to get you on him. So he is a Canadian who, believe it or not, I actually got onto him by Joe Rogan. He had Jelly Roll on, he's a rapper from Nashville. He does like cowboy rap, and they were talking about this guy, and he played this one song that you would think, you listen to the song, it's called Kate McCannon, and this guy's from Canada, and you would think, like, listening to this song, this is a 68-year-old cowboy who's lived on the range, smoked a pack of cigarettes a day, and then you pull him up and he's 25.
Wow. I'd love to listen to him.
But he lives the life. Supposedly he works like on the 4-6s ranch up in Amarillo, like during the winter or during the summer as a ranch hand, and then he tours and he does these he plays these shows as a cowboy singer.
Wonder which came first.
I don't know.
The singer or the cowboy?
I don't know, but I'll get you on him.
But
you'll like some of his.
I gotta
music.
respect the man living the life.
But I feel like there's just been this reemergence. People are like getting back into it. Yeah, which is cool. It's cool to see because I've always been fascinated by it.
Yeah.
All right, so I totally forgot to mention when I was introducing you that you are a senior vice president as of today.
Yeah, why does age keep coming up in this?
Senior vice president at CBRE. You've been in commercial real estate for what, a little more than a decade now, and I know this because you were on our floor when you were dating Carly.
For one day.
For one day.
Yeah.
And I think that was like your one of your first roles.
Here
in Austin.
That's a long extended story, but yes, I've been in commercial real estate since I graduated college.
Yeah, okay.
I started...
So probably 14 years?
12 years now, I suppose. No, 13 years. 13 years this January, yeah. Thanks for reminding me.
Yeah, there you go. I'm about to hit 13 years.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. I've loved it. I could name a million descriptive words about why I've loved it, but growing up, I watched my dad property manage properties, and he was around the house a lot. And I saw that that's kind of the lifestyle I wanted to pursue. I graduated from tech in 2010 and started networking. It wasn't a very good time in the marketplace.
Sure.
It was coming out of the 08, 09 financial crisis.
Right.
And I networked. I networked and networked and networked. I met with one guy and he introduced me. He said, I'm going to introduce you to 2 guys. You need to go to them and you need to ask them to introduce you to 3 guys, and you need to keep a database and records. And because it wasn't a good time in the market to get a job, that helped me immensely. That little tiny piece of advice and following it helped me immensely. A guy named Walt Penn, he was one of my mentors growing up. And I followed that, and after about 4 months, I found a guy named Brad Bailey. He worked at Marcus and Millichap, and he did investment sales. He had just run the office. In 08, 09, when the downturn happened, he needed a transition because sales were down. And so he went back into sales, and he was looking for an apprentice, essentially, or someone to be an extremely junior, and I was that fit.
Yeah.
And I started working hard. I was up off 360. I didn't love the culture that the company was. Fortunately for me, Brad, my boss, told me he was moving to Weitzman Group after 4 months there and asked if I would like to come with him. I said, absolutely. Weitzman Group's where I started growing into, I guess, my own, and loving the culture and the other brokers in the office, and still have outstanding relationships from that office. I could name 10 friends. I was texting with one earlier today and called 2 yesterday, as a matter of fact. Long story short, went 3 years, got a few deals under my belt. All I've done my entire career, Brantley, is what's called investment sales, commercial real estate brokerage, which I'll explain for a second. All we do is sales transactions. So if someone even owns a property and they say, I need to lease this up? Well, we have connections and the ability to help someone find the right leasing agent, but we focus on only the sale of the real estate.
Gotcha.
We also only focus on specific product types. We do office, retail, industrial, and infill land sites that could be multifamily sites.
Okay.
But we don't sell apartments or multifamily. Those are words that can go interchangeably. And so that's all I've done. It started with $500,000 deals in East Austin or over off Airport or 51st Street down south off Slaughter, and grinding. It's all cold calls. But Brad instilled a process in me, and he was and still is an incredible mentor. It's funny. So 2014, fast forward, he gets a job offer. He goes and takes it. I'm starting to flounder a little bit. I get recruited to come over to CBRE, which is the biggest real estate firm in the world.
Right.
And I work as a junior on 2 seniors team, and I get the exposure to the big leagues.
Yeah.
As a junior.
That's incredible.
And learned and was on packages and continued cold calling and continued networking. And 3 years more, another 3-year stint went by. They ended up peeling off and going to HFF, which is no longer a firm. They've merged with JLL. That's when they officed in your building.
Right.
And when I was part of that team, essentially they took them with me. And when and as part of that transition, I got calls from CBRE that said, if you come back, you have a position here. And I accepted. I floundered a little bit for 6 to 9 months, and the managing director put a senior partner with me that didn't work out. The senior partner left himself, and he wasn't an investment sales guy. He was an appraisal that wanted to go into sales. He's a great guy. It just didn't work out, and he moved. And I said, that's enough of that. I'm going to pick the partner. And I called Brad back, the original guy that hired me, that had moved his entire family to Birmingham, Alabama. And I said, this is an incredible opportunity. We can be partners. And he is a fantastic man. He's a incredible leader, and he has the leadership role of the team. He runs the team, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. And that was in 2017, and it's been head down ever since. And we have continued to sell assets. And I've been grateful and humble to be a part of the team and grow it with him. We have other members on our team that specialize in different areas, but for the most part, we cover those product types 25, 30 million and under, because when you get above that, a lot of times it's institutionally driven. A lot of times I say with inflation, I can dip up to 35 or 40, no problem.
Okay. Yeah.
But we team up a lot with different brokers in our office. CBRE, similar to Texas Tech, in my opinion.
Yep.
It's about the quality of the colleague.
Right.
Those people are outstanding, and I got promoted this morning, so I've been
congratulations.
pretty pleased.
That's incredible.
Thank you.
I mean, obviously, very well earned. It sounds like obviously you've had an incredible partner. That's amazing that you were able to bring him back.
Yeah.
I'm sure that only just made you a better person and him better by being your partner as well. So.
He's no one works harder than him, and he has experience, and he's a good guy. He's a good man. He's a good family man, and you never know when you're going to take something from someone in terms of growth or knowledge in a relationship, and the longevity is it's outstanding. Looking back at the relationship to see how much I've learned from him, and I'm grateful for that. Hopefully he's learned something from me.
I'm sure he has, but I will say I feel like that's something that we see in almost every walk of life, but especially in business. And it's I've had mentors in my past. Ed Crump, which you know very well,
I love
which
that
I'm sure
guy.
Carly would feel the same way. I feel like one of my first mentors, but having somebody be able to be your mentor for as long as it sounds like Brad has. I mean, it's probably just been an incredible gift and something I'm sure you would recommend anybody who's a young man in any type of business, but especially something like real estate or a networking focused role. Having a mentor or a guide, through your career is probably an absolute necessity, to really be successful. Have somebody that can really guide you and be that support system for you. It's a two-way street, I'm sure.
And not just Brad. I've been very, very fortunate. I've had multiple mentors. I mentioned a guy named Walt Penn. I grew up with his son Hudson, and he's helped me throughout the years. He's a good Texan man, but another mentor that means so much to me and I speak with every single day of my life is a guy a man named Brian Rogers. Okay. Talk about an interesting guy. I've always asked him to write a book or go on podcasts, and he said, well, I'm not that interesting. Well, I think he is. He was my dad's best friend growing up. He grew up in Midland. They used to do the go-karts and blow stuff up off in the desert. And not to get into details, but I got a lot closer to Brian Rogers when I graduated college. Okay. And I looked at him as a mentor to when I was having hard times. And he was one of my dad's business. He was my dad's business partner. They were business partners on purchasing some properties.
Gotcha.
And I had a chip on my shoulder. I needed my own properties. Well, that meant having Brian Rogers as a partner on the principal side of things, meaning I wanted to own properties and I needed a partner.
These are personal investments.
These are personal investments. Okay, gotcha. But Brian is so much more than that. But that is how he was there when I was born.
Right.
He was there growing up, but our relationship blossomed through work. And now he is absolutely an extended family member of mine. And it was, again, 2011. I'd started with Brad. It's a challenging deal, just like what you went through. Cold calls, getting and you
Nobody knows who you are.
you
You're just
question everything every
forcing
day.
it through.
What am I doing with my life? I don't even know. And I'm 100% commission. I'm doing all this. I'm not even getting paid. And Brian kept me steady, calm, gave me different perspectives. And in 2012, I decided I wanted to be an owner too. And I found a loophole in mortgages that with your first time home buyer's note, you can put down 3.5%.
Right. Don't have to put down 20%.
You can put down 3.5%.
I thought it was 5. It's 3.5.
It was. I don't know what it is now.
Okay, gotcha.
And you can lock in a 30-year mortgage. Not only that, you can buy up to 4 units. And that's when my eyes got big.
Wow.
So I sent out 350 mailers to triplex and fourplex owners in 78704 and 78703. And
it's like south of the river, right?
South of the river in
kind of
Clarksville.
the South Congress
in Clarksville
area.
and Terrytown.
In Clarksville. Okay, gotcha.
So 04 is south of the river, Ben White to Mopac, down to Ben White's the south border, 35's east, Mopac's west, and the lake is north. And then 03 is west of Lamar, over to the lake, and probably 15th and down.
Okay.
So Clarksville and some Terrytown. And one hit. I found a lady who wanted to sell, and she wanted to sell now, and she wanted to sell off market. And she had 2 fourplexes side by side. Well, I had financing for one.
Right.
I was worth $25,000.
Yeah.
If this opportunity failed, then what are they going to do? Take the rest of the 6,500?
Yeah.
I could care less.
Yeah.
So I put down the 3.5%, and I locked 3.25 for 30 years, and bought one, and Brian bought the other. And in doing so, Brian helped me remodel the units. I lived in there for 5 years, and
You lived in one of the units.
and I lived in one of the
leased
units.
other
I
3.
managed them, leased them. We ran it as an 8-plex.
No way.
Yeah, and so we still own them. We'll probably never sell them. They're.
Is this in Clarksville?
It's in Clarksville.
Oh.
And I was broke.
Fantastic.
I was
area.
broke as a joke, and I was paying the partnership rent and just meeting the tenants and trying to figure this out and that out. And it was fun.
Right.
It was amazing memories. I lived in a cool spot.
Yeah.
It was
I'd say
old but we made it cool and hip.
Yeah.
And it was fun. And Brian was there every step of the way. And just a little bit more about him. He is my dad's age. He was born in 1955. He is 68 years old, and he's an ultra marathon runner.
Wow.
He runs 100
incredibly fit.
He runs 100-mile races.
Oh my God.
He couldn't.
Has he done an Ironman?
No,
He's just a runner.
He's a runner, but he's also he's taken trips biking across different amazing paths of the world, such as across Africa and across some of Europe. Mm-hmm. And you want to get that or not?
It's all good. I don't know what the fuck's going on with that one. Sorry.
It's all good. And so Brian has been instrumental to all of that. He's been instrumental to my family, and he's helped me through that. Since then, we've bought an asset about every 3 years, and they've no more multifamily for me.
Okay.
Because you have to worry about someone sleeping there in the toilet. And we have transitioned to buy industrial. Multi-tenant industrial. Our thesis is the HVAC guy isn't going to run his business out of his house.
Yep.
The HVAC guy is going to run a business out of a warehouse with a small office. And so we try to find properties that are 1,000 square feet per unit to 5,000 square feet per unit. And the business park can be as big as 40 to 60 to 80,000 square feet, but that's the focus. And so we've grown the portfolio with that in mind, and we continue to hunt. And we're not as smart as most people. We don't buy and sell.
Sure.
Because if we sell, we don't have anything else to buy. We just are strategic and slowly, methodically try to build a portfolio. Yeah. And try to put conservative debt on it and be conservative in our approach, limiting our downside.
Well, obviously in the Austin metroplex, it's probably a very good play to just hold on to assets like that, right?
It's worked out for us.
Exactly. So you don't need to flip these things like, like to your point, it might be smarter or, a better play, money play to, buy and sell, flip, or, but, being able to buy, great properties with, on a leverage good debt and hold on to them is probably, it sounds like it's working out pretty well.
Hey, that's well said. And the guys who have made the very most money know how to flip them and know how to reposition them. And I broker some of those deals for those guys. And from the office perspective, from a retail perspective, but found the little niche, just buying some stuff on the side.
There you go. All right, 2 last questions, and then we'll close this thing out.
Okay.
So obviously, it sounds like personally, the majority of your assets are in Austin, in the Austin area, right?
We have one in San Marcos, and the rest.
You
are
have
in
one
Austin.
in San Marcos. In your role at CBRE, are you only over the Austin area as well? Or are you looking at properties all throughout Texas?
We have a team member on our team, a teammate of mine, Adam Rabin. He handles Waco, Temple, and Killeen.
Okay.
And then he's dipping his toe into College Station and doing some Abilene in West Texas. And he is a hard worker, and he's getting some activity done, and he's moving his career forward. I think he's been on board for 4 or 5 years.
Very cool.
We have a new guy on our team named Jeffrey. He does industrial. But to answer your question, we are, call it New Braunfels up to Waco, as maybe out to Bastrop, because once you get past Bastrop, there's not much more.
So pretty much
And
all
then
of
Marble
central
Falls.
Texas almost. Yeah.
Call it an hour drive from 200 Congress, where second in Oasis, where my office is.
Gotcha.
I always say 6 in Congress because that's kind of the center of town.
And I understand CBRE probably has their Dallas Fort Worth.
We have Hong Kong.
Yeah, I mean
Tokyo,
it's everywhere, but
it's
in
everywhere.
Texas specifically.
So if you are a client of mine and you own 8 assets here, and then you own 1 asset in Cincinnati, you'll say, Logan, introduce me to the Cincinnati guy.
Got it.
And I'll pick up the phone, and that colleague should be a good colleague in
you'll have
CBRE.
somebody to refer me to, right?
Right.
In one of the thousands of other marketplaces that you are in. But,
so clients have taken us different spots.
Yeah.
We've closed a deal in Destin, Florida before.
Yeah.
Because the client said, hey, come over here. So what do? We call the Florida guy. We team up with him. We sell it together.
There you go.
That's pretty much what we do.
Very cool. So my last question is, if to our listeners, like, if they were looking to invest in commercial property, or say even a residential property in Texas, where in your expertise, and let's say Central Texas, if it needs to be, where would that be?
Ooh, Brantley, that's tough. If it's your first one, you need to be picky. It needs to work, but at the same time, you're not going to find an asset without any risks.
Sure.
That's how investment play goes. From a location standpoint, I am very, very bullish on the areas between Austin and San Antonio. Investors and clients of ours have drawn similarities to what's happened in between Los Angeles and San Diego.
Right.
That it's filled in completely.
Sure.
So you have Texas State. I think there's 36,000 students in Texas State.
And growing. Right.
New Braunfels is an incredible city.
Oh my God.
It's
right.
so every time you go down there, you just love it.
It's one of my favorite places.
Yeah.
I feel like we're so spoiled being only an hour away, or not even an hour away, and we don't go there enough.
Right.
We used to do some day trips before we had kids, but that makes sense.
And then Kyle and Buda has filled in
Growing up.
So I'm bullish there. That's actually probably lost the bet in the past 10 years, because Round Rock, Cedar Park, Leander are where all the corporate drivers have gone.
Sure.
I think you represented Home Depot for a while.
Oh yeah.
Home Depot's
they
north.
started moving north. Yeah.
Samsung's north.
Yeah.
Tesla's north of the river, but they're east.
Right.
Apple's campus is north off of Palmer.
I remember when that was teeny tiny, and now it's just massive.
There's 15,000 people there.
Exactly.
Now it's about to be 20.
It's insane.
Cedar Park, Leander, Liberty Hill. I mean, so
Right.
the good thing about Austin, and I tell clients this that come in, is 360 degrees from the center of town, you can find a good deal.
You probably can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want to
And
go
again,
west, you're going to find the higher demographics.
Yeah.
If you want to head east, you're going to find the industrial place.
Sure. So I get it, and I feel like we're in South Austin, and I wanted to be here specifically because it was a good price point, and still close to downtown where I worked, and still wanted to be close to the area. Everybody talks about how South Austin still, keeps a lot of. I know West Austin's the same way, but South Austin still keeps a lot of that like original keep Austin weird vibe. But also number 3 is everything. Everything in up north is pretty built out. It's probably going to still be building out, but there's just so much area to build down in South Austin, towards Dripping, towards San Marcos, towards Fredericksburg.
I love it
et
all.
cetera.
I really love this area
Yeah.
of the world.
Yeah.
I think it's gorgeous. We do have the water features.
Mm-hmm.
It's raining outside right now.
I
I
know.
hope it just keeps filling those.
Keeps filling it up
Yeah.
after this summer, especially. Yeah.
So I've been partial to South Austin in the past.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but
It's got
all parts of
got a
Austin
culture to
have
it. Yeah.
have great benefits and growth. So
There you go.
it's a great place to be.
Awesome. Well, I am so glad that you were able to stop by and have this chat with me over a cocktail. I think I learned a hell of a lot about not only you, but also just everything you mentioned about your business and real estate in Austin. So I appreciate you swinging by. This was fun.
It was fun.
And I can't wait to have you back sometime soon. But
Yeah, I'm grateful to be invited, and
sure.
I appreciate our friendship in doing this.
I agree.
So I've had a great time. I've told you I enjoy listening to podcasts, and
Yeah.
this is the first one I've been on.
There you go.
So I'm excited.
Now
to see how it turns
you've
out.
been on one.
Yeah,
so
there you go.
Thanks for swinging into the garage and
Yeah,
putting
man.
Texas on my mind. with
In
me,
the
brother.
garage.
So,
I hope to be invited back someday.
you got it, man.
All
Thanks
right.
so much.
All right.
All right.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
All right.